Hi, welcome back to another episode of Victoria 2, Heart of Darkness. Last left off, we were embroiled in a very violent war with Russia, and so, without much further ado, that's where we will start. And successfully won in the Holy Land, plus starting to occupy over in the Far East. There we go, another successful occupation. Gonna follow up to Accra. Oh, not that army. Not that army at all. Huh. Whoops. There we go. Where is that? If I was... There we go. So we're going to use the 7th Army here in Holy Land to follow Russia up to Accra. And we're doing okay on the budget, which is always something I like to look at. Another thing, since it's been suggested in comments, there's really no reason to keep Dynam out of my sphere of influence, at least not now, since they're not an immediate target. There's too many other things I want to kill first, or at least conquer, so I'm going to drop that one to, or I'm going to add them to sphere, and going to increase the influence in Spain. Once the UK gets a little bit further, I will ban them, and then we'll try and drop down the opinion of both UK and France with Spain. I'm banned from Portugal, but it looks like, for the moment anyways, the UK is ignoring them. If the US will get in on this attempt too, I might be able to use that to my advantage and pull off an upset. While I'm here, or while I have some time, I'm going to increase the relations with the US. Hopefully I'll be able to get an alliance with them at some point. Increase the relations with Prussia. Austria's on the way out, and I'm at war with both Russia and the Ottomans, so going to increase relations with the UK. And we are occupying Accra. Hopefully Russia will perhaps offer me... I can't propose peace, but I believe that Russia can offer me peace. And all I really want is this bit of land that I've added a war goal for, Sakhalin. I don't care at all about if the UK gets Yukon or if Poland is free. Once I'm out of the war, it doesn't matter to me, even in the slightest. And there's not a strait there, so I'm going to just sweep up and take these provinces here in the far northeast of Russia that I've sort of bypassed. Looking at... Oof. This battle on Tomsk is not going the way it should be. This is unfortunate. Hey, we got some lowered war exhaustion and completely lost that army. Crap. Well, I'll have to rebuild it after the war, but really can't afford to at the moment. All I can hope for is that Russia will offer me some peace soon. Mechanized mining, which is a nice province-wide event. I'm going to move the naval rally point and build up another 10 steam transports, since I cannot fit my entire armies onto the 20 right now. Looking at the newspaper, Austria seems to have had a revolution. Interesting. Probably because they're getting their ass kicked by France, which does tend to annoy the people. Continuing my occupation in the Holy Land, at least things are going pretty well there. And this army here in the Far East is going to take a while to do much of anything, I think. I just really need some more canned goods. And nobody seems to be willing to build them, so I'm going to go ahead and expand the factory and focus, or and pay for the railroads, and wait here. There we go. That might help turn the tides. Additional morale and military tactics are both very valuable. Now the question is 15%, 10 and 10, which is nice. There's a lot of good... Oh, of course. It's now February, so I'm going to do this tech, which gives me an extra 100% of research. So that's certainly the main focus right now. And since this army isn't reinforcing, I'll go and try and wipe out these 5,000 troops here in Russia. Really would be nice if the UK would pull their fair share and pull some more of the Russian troops away from my front. But hopefully the new military tactics seem to be coming through. Ugh, civil violence. I'll take the one that lowers population by less, but still very obnoxious to have to take any population hits. And occupation of the Holy Land's continuing nicely. Come on, Russia. Just give me the core. That's all I really want. It looks like our particular war, though, due to battles, is not going particularly well, which is unfortunate. Some extra speed, though, is nice, and tax efficiency should mean that we will run even further in the green. In fact, I'm going to drop taxes on the rich and middle class, run in the red a little bit, but that may help our industry to keep growing. Oh, well, this is a nice event. I'm not sure what I did to gain it, but 10 prestige, 2,000 or so, 2,000 or so research points, some losses of militancy and consciousness. It will speed up the research of this particular tech pretty significantly, so is worthwhile. Since Sarawon is now over the 0.1% capitalist ratio or percentage that we're looking for, I'm going to move that national focus to our next largest state and work on clerks, since we need more clerks. Oof. The Russians are starting to sweep through with more troops, though. So as soon as I'm done occupying this province, I'm going to move the 2nd Army to counter the newly arrived Russian troops and maybe pull back the 6th Army all the way to Manchuria. I just really wish this war would end. I kind of bit off more than I can chew. We're back in the positive. Speak of the devil. Going to accept this peace offer. Anything at this point to finish this war, and if we can get something out of it, even better. Additionally, mechanized mining in Kagoshima, wherever that is. Somewhere in the home islands, I believe. And so going to first pull back all of these troops back to Manchuria, and I will need to reinforce or replace an entire army. Which is not something I wanted to have to do, but such is life. So looking at these, it looks like we have 6 infantry, 3 guards, 2 engineer, 3 cavalry, and 8 artillery. So I'm going to set, yep, alright, that's already set there. So first off, 1, 2, 3 guard. And then we'll try and get as many infantry and such from my newly conquered land as opposed to the home island so that I can save those for guards. But 2 dragoons and a hussar, because we only need 1 of the weaker cavalry to still use their recon rate. 2 engineers. And then we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 infantry, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 artillery. Had to use quite a few troops from the home islands, but such is life. Gonna raise the naval maintenance a little bit, but also drop land maintenance. Putting them both at 80% should be fine for our current purposes, because we're going to stay at peace for a while we sort of lick our wounds, such as it is, considering we did win that war, so it's not really that much of licking our wounds and letting infamy bleed off. I'm going to check how this crisis here is going. No tension at all, so going to ignore it. And we'll choose this, the plus consciousness option here, which means that that minimal safety regulations will get a lot more support in whatever state this is, in Kansai, which is our largest state, but it's better than militancy in our largest state. Looking at the newspaper, talks of our victories and, of course, our model colony. Persia apparently likes us, although I can't say that we've ever had any relations with them in any way. But hey, what the heck? They're more than welcome to like us. Oh, I'm going to ban the UK from Spain. And we'll drop both France and the UK's opinion, or Spain's opinion of both France and the UK once I get enough influence. Tensions in Sinai are dissipating, so lowered militancy there. And I'm going to drop the taxes on the poor another level. And I'm going to check, I think, everywhere except our new state needs to have the naval base expanded. And then, where did I put naval bases here? That one's already expanding. It looks like I've done a pretty good job of keeping up with these, wherever the others might be. And the Pacific is pretty well and colonized at this point. There might be a crisis over southern New Guinea, which will be interesting to watch, but one that we probably won't take a side in. And now we're just waiting for all of these units to build so that we can move in our newly expanded transports, which I'm going to rename just so that we know it is the transport fleet. Just in case we create another one at some point, which I imagine we will, I'm going to name this First Transport Fleet. And the poor strata can lose some militancy. Oh, a loyal general has died. Let's take a look at the great powers. We're quite a ways off of the UK, but that may change if once they lose those points from war again. And we should be able to catch the US once either our military is built back up, or we start to or once we get enough technology to build up some ironclads and modernize our navy. Shall we host a colonial exposition? Most definitely. 500 pounds is literally nothing to us. And I imagine this event chain will lead to some additional prestige, which is of value to us. The Second Army is still slowly trekking back from the boonies, for lack of a better term. Oh, losing some militancy here in our relatively new part of China that is ours. Checking the newspaper, machine parts are dropping. A military airship was able to fly, and Dostoevsky's writings have been very influential in Russia and the West. How about that? One whole prestige from that event. Woo, I can hardly contain my excitement. And going to let infamy tick off. If it gets down to 15, I might go ahead and finally finish off Siam. But I've been saying that for so long, I can't promise it. Who knows if something else might come up and distract me, require my more immediate attention. And end of the year, or beginning of the year rather, the upper house rearranges, but it hasn't shifted much in a long while. I'm thinking we might get an election again pretty soon, but it may be another year off. I can't keep track of when exactly these elections show up. We just got a slight increase to furniture and luxury furniture production, but it very well may be a long time before that's really that meaningful. I don't believe that we produce that much of either. Here, production screen. Wow, a lot of furniture from artisans. Those Chinese artisans are getting to work. But other than that, not a lot of luxury. Well, where is luxury furniture? Can't even find it on here. Oh, of course, right next to it. So I guess that 2% will matter because we do have a couple factories, but only a couple. So in the long run, it'll make a difference. For now, not really noteworthy. Alright, going to decrease the opinion of France first here in Spain, since they're no longer banned. And I'm betting I'm going to be banned from Portugal soon, so I'm going to drop the influence down to low. Mechanized mining in Namuru. I don't know where Namuru is. And losing some militancy from fish. Looking at the newspaper again. Really no even fluff in this one. Colonial progress. I can lose 1 consciousness or gain a consciousness and gain 1 life rating. Life rating is extremely useful. It increases the amount of internal migrations plus the speed of growth, so I will take that in a heartbeat. Now sitting at 36 province life rating, but it might be enough that it will somewhat increase, meaning make non-zero the migrations to this colony. Although at the current rate, it looks like it won't be a colony for much longer. And one of our nice research point techs is finished. So next I'm going to focus on semi-automation, automatization, I should say, which will decrease factory cost and increase throughput tech very significantly. So quite a useful tech. All of these are very useful, but assembly line, even though the activation year has already passed, I'm going to have to wait on. That said, though, I think one of my next focuses will be deep defense systems, just because it's such a useful army tech. And then I might go ahead and get nationalism and imperialism, or start to work on these 3 columns in the Navy techs. But I keep making all these plans and just keep changing them based on what the current situation is, so we'll wait and see. Ugh, more civil violence. Tonga's taking a 5% hit, which, considering Tonga's tiny, is like not that many. 600 people or so, but those are 600 people that could have been producing something. Additional steel throughput. We have a decent number of steel factories, I believe, so it's a worthwhile tech, or worthwhile invention that came as part of, I guess it would be as cheap iron. It's one of the inventions that comes from cheap iron, which we got just because the research itself is useful. Alright, tensions dissipate in Tonga, not after killing 600 people, but better late than never, I suppose. And going to get all of these armies put together. Oh, forgot one. Left one on the home islands, so gonna go back around to pick him up. Can't leave him out of any potential wars. I'm gonna take the consciousness and militancy just to keep the relatively small population in Japanese Cambodia from becoming socialist. And if the rich get pissed, that's not really a big problem. Oh. Putting everybody back on the ships to send them to Manchuria, where they will man the defenses in case we need to fight China again. I say in case, when we fight China again. I'm sure it's only a matter of time. And it looks like 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, one more infantry is what we will build. We need one more because I just miscounted it, and apparently we have 7 infantry, not 6. That was entirely my mistake. It happens. Hey, lucky for us, though, we can build it here in the mainland. Or in mainland Asia, I guess, is how I should describe it. So, yeah, I'll just... whatever, no harm, no foul. Ooh, losing consciousness or militancy? Considering I don't imagine they have much militancy, consciousness will probably have the bigger effect. And it dropped it by a whole .01. Let's check the newspaper. Some issues going on in South America. Two Sicilies is now a great power, which might mean that they will create Italy soon. Although it looks like the red shirts in the Papal States might create a crown from the gutter event, which will pull in all these miners, which would kind of suck for two Sicilies, because then they have no chance of becoming Italy, and Italy will have cores on them. But glad we're not them, can't really say much except that. France took a bit of Austria, though. Austria has just completely dropped off of the face of the earth. If Prussia can put them in their sphere, I imagine Prussia will be able to... well, no, they still can't form Germany, because they still need this... they still need parts of Denmark that they're unable to get because the UK is allied with Denmark. Kind of annoying, but I guess Prussia doesn't really want to fight the UK, which makes sense. There's a poet in Malaysia. I'm just going to let him be. I have no problem with Malaysian poetry. Haven't ever read any, didn't even know it was really a thing, but no problem with it. More civil violence, which is a little obnoxious, but it happens, I suppose. And our last bit of infantry is almost done. I'm just going to move the focus of where they should move to. I'm going to move the rally point, rather, to where the army is. That way I don't have to micromanage it. And it looks like the UK is trying to mess around in Spain again. I'll let them build up some influence before I ban them. Disloyal regiment. They should adapt. Not sure what they should adapt to. I didn't really read the event, but not losing population is better than losing population, so they should adapt. Japanese Laos is coming more happily under our thumb. In case the reactionaries rise anytime soon, I'm going to build a pretty small force here of a guard, probably 3 infantry, and a dragoon, a hussar, and a couple artillery, just as sort of a home island occupation force, making sure that if the reactionaries or anybody rise, there's already units here on the home islands to take care of them. And looking at the news again, more stuff about the dinosaurs, and the USA expanded somewhere. Betchy. I'm kind of curious. Ah, and their American holdings. Yeah, it's interesting to see the USA get in on the race in Africa, considering that there are literally not a single British colony that they didn't start with. That's crazy. I guess it was because they were so busy here in the Pacific that they missed out on all of this rich and populous parts of Africa. Because not all of it's very populous, but there's a good few million people, or a good few million pops, rather, since each pop represents 4 people, or just sort of one working household. Ooh, botanical expedition works. Let's take the higher prestige. Hooray for prestige. But yes, as I was saying, there's a lot of value in Africa, so I'm surprised that the UK didn't grab it, which probably will translate to them never having another shot at getting to number 1. Hopefully, I will pass up the US and will be... well, let's see. US isn't at war with anybody. Anyways, hopefully I will pass up the US and the UK and be fighting with France for number 1 here before too long. But the timeline isn't even half over yet, so there is still plenty of time, I should say. There we go. The semi-automation should help with our industry. And I'm going to grab Iron Railroad. It should take a little less than 6 or a little more than 6 months, but that's not too long by any means, and will increase the efficiency of factories, which will in turn mean that they will make more money, which will convert more people to come to factories. And it's all sort of a trickle down economics type of thing. It works out very well that anything that strengthens any part of the industry strengthens it all. On that note, I'm also, or on a completely different note, I'm moving the rally point back to just here in Korea in case I need to build up any more troops. I'm going to take the relations boost and prestige instead of a pointless CB I won't use and loss of prestige. And the upper house rearranges once more. Oof, I had to reload there due to an issue with taping, but I will continue the episode. Of course, with any load, somebody has to go bankrupt. Anyways, where was I? Oh, I was combining this unit, and those infantry or those units are all building. It looks like this unit has lost some infantry too, but I'm going to wait and reinforce it once something else on the Korean Peninsula is able to be built. Hopefully, anyways. And our economy's shaken out. I will go ahead and raise the maintenance again. If we lose a little bit, we have plenty of nest egg, and so can really afford it for the moment anyways. And our infamy's bleeding off quite nicely, as is prone to happen. I'm going to rename this army to the Homeland Protection Front, as that's what they'll be doing, just protecting against any rebels that might pop up in the home islands. I will take the favor of Trinket Healthcare and Consciousness over Liberal, which won't do anything, and Militancy. Trinket Healthcare would be a fine reform to pass. It increases population growth, which means that we would have larger population. A nice invention that increases a couple of our very valuable resources that are produced in non-factories, RGOs. I'm going to decrease the opinion of the UK and France. I eventually want them both to just be neutral or even hostile. And it looks like we can create a state. So welcome to statehood, Sakhalin. Yay, excellent. I don't know that they'll actually be much use, but whatever. It's better than being a colony, I guess. Hooray, our botanical expedition returned. So let's take the extra 5 prestige, which pushes us up to 3rd place over the USA. And once the UK stops being at war, we should jump ahead of them too. Assuming that our industrial power continues to grow at a pretty good rate, we might grab 2nd before the end of this episode. And we're starting to lose money a little faster than I'd like, so I'm going to raise taxes on middle and poor. Of course, leaving the rich with their money so that they can spend it on something else. Ugh, another flu epidemic. We'll spend the money to keep it fairly small. North Angola just had a revolution, which means that they are probably no longer spherelings of anyone. Gunfight at the OK Corral, and some more stuff about dinosaurs, which if you're into that thing is kind of cool. What to focus on next? I'm going to go ahead and get organic chemistry next, and then I think it may be time to focus on the Navy. But organic chemistry will take, 6 months? 8 months. So, not too bad at least, but a noteworthy amount of time. I'm going to ban the UK from Spain so that I can keep spreading lies about Spain and making them generally hate everyone that isn't me. Nitroglycerin is shown up in Kobe, which should increase our income pretty significantly, as you see here. Newspaper again. Skyscrapers have shown up in America. More dinosaurs, and something about Cope's book. I have no idea what those words mean. Vertebrata of tertiary formations of the West. I assume it has something to do with dinosaurs and vertebrae, but I don't know enough about biology to really say. So, those of you who do, feel free to leave a comment and let me know, or just keep it to yourself and be smarter than me. I just created a general because we have extra leadership, got to do something with it. And watching our infamy tick down pretty quickly. Once it gets down to 10, I think Siam is finally on the menu to once and for all be destroyed and added to the Japanese Empire. I've been saying that for so long, but for serious, I mean it this time, guys. They have some more wood and tropical wood and opium and a pretty big population in Bangkok, so will be a nice addition to our empire. Tensions dissipate in Laos, so -1 militancy. And because we're running such a nice surplus, I'm going to drop the taxes on the middle class. The poor can keep bearing the brunt of the cost. It's their fault for being poor, I suppose. These are not exactly times of progressive taxation. And I want the conservatives to win, so going with pro-military there. Still making plenty of money. Eventually we'll drop the taxes on the poor again, but need to make a little bit more progress. Don't really care for jingoism, and a lot of pro-military already in Kansai. It's going to choose the smallest here. And let's see if... still can't build any more infantry here in Asian mainland. But once I can, I will do so and reinforce the 66,000 army. I'm going to choose residency because that's what the conservative faction wants. And mechanized mining, excellent. The upper house slightly changes as it tends to do. And thankfully the election's almost over. I'm thinking the conservative faction shouldn't have too much problem winning this. But another choice of pro-militancy, or pro-military. Looking at the newspaper, iguanodons everywhere. Hide your children, hide your wife, because iguanodons everywhere. And then this event got in the way of reading the newspaper. I'm going to choose the lowest. We don't want limited citizenship. Ooh, a nice boost to morale. That should help our armies in the future to go, at least if we lose any battles, which against China, I don't imagine we will, but if we have to fight Russia or something, the increased morale is nice. And there we are now sitting at number 2. The wars have ended, and so we have passed. The UK lost a lot of prestige, and their armies dropped down a lot again, so we've far surpassed them and are quite a ways ahead of the US. So we are now the second greatest power in the world. Unfortunately, only about 75, or 2/3, not 75%, about 2/3 of the points of France. Well, not even. France is way ahead of us. Let's just leave it at that. So we have some time to catch them, but it will be a long race. Anyways, choosing pluralism with this election event. And going to drop taxes on the poor. That's only 250. We could take 1,000 days of this particular losses. And I feel like the people will use the money better than we will. The soldiers do need better food. Sorry about that. Had to restart my... just had to restart Fraps. Sometimes it lags like that. I'm not really sure why, but I appreciate your patience. Anyways, more pluralism here. Election event's almost over. 2 more weeks. And tensions in Southeast Asia have dissipated, at least somewhat. And there we go. Extra supply limit. So I'm going to focus on... what next? I guess I said I was going to, so let's invest some in our Navy. So hopefully we'll be able to build something better than just commerce raiders by the end of this. By the end of this year, even. So iron steamers will be done in October. And projects are all being built very, very quickly, so no reason to even pour any money into that. I'm going to take the additional plurality, which boosts our research ever so slightly. But every little bit counts. Going to create another couple of generals. Why not? And I probably should have done Raider Group Doctrine first before Iron Steamers, but that's okay. I will focus on those first next so that I can build up naval bases and actually have the naval support or supply throughput to support newer and better ships. A nitroglycerin in Pohang, which should increase our income slightly, which it seems to. Looking at the newspaper again, more classifications of dinosaurs, some racial issues in America, which is rare for Paradox because they tried to shy away from that kind of thing. But I guess it is that era. And mechanized mining, very nice, in Edo, which translates to another increase in income, at least somewhat. I don't know how much of that's just due to random chance. But we're plenty here in Spain, so I'm going to decrease the opinion of France, because screw France, and increase the relations with the UK, keep them fairly friendly. US is still not quite willing to be my ally, but if I get them to 200, they might be. And they might be a useful ally to have. Speaking of which, I imagine they will probably go to war. The UK and the US will probably go to war over Washington at some point, just because it's a core, and with the UK having recently lost a war and having most of its troops elsewhere in the world, it's a pretty good time to strike. Ion reactionaries just showed up. Thankfully, we have the Homeland Protection Front. I will check this hunting rebel flag, and they should take care of all of these. They might have to re-siege a couple provinces, but that's okay. Iron Steamer's finished, so I'm going to focus on Raider Group Doctrine next. And build the Suez Canal, which I already have that land, but extra 10 prestige. Certainly worthwhile. I wonder if I can grab... Oh, wrong click. I wonder if I could grab Colombia. Unlikely. I'm betting the UK will build the Panama Canal pretty soon. I'm surprised they haven't already. That must mean they don't have all the techs, which means we're ahead of them in industrialization at least. And Bukhara thinks they're our best friend and the Ottomans are afraid of us. Plus, Two Sicilies is attempting again to take Ethiopia, after a number of failures for reasons I can't even imagine. Iron production has increased, which is good because iron's used in a number of the goods that we have had trouble getting when we're at war. And these rebels are just not even putting up a fight against my army. The 24,000 is clearly more than enough. However, these battles could be going a little quicker, but I guess beggars can't be choosers. And even if we have to re-siege one or two provinces, it's not the end of the world. Ooh, house debate on botany. I'm going to take the militancy over loss of prestige. We've gained quite a lot of prestige from these expeditions, so it's worthwhile. And I'm going to stop this episode here. We have successfully moved up to second place in the world and have won a war against a great power. Our infamy is ticking off, so next episode we should be able to finish off Siam and maybe even take some more of China or some other bits of Southeast Asia, depending on how lucky we are with creating the CB to take Siam. Reactionaries are causing some issues in the southern parts of the home islands, but only temporarily. And yeah, that's where we are. We're trying to modernize our navy too, I guess. So, thanks for watching, and check back soon for more Victoria 2, Heart of Darkness.